Okay, so we are looking at Cover, right? Which is a very interesting new film, right? It is from director Cameron Francis, who also wrote the piece. Right, he's a producer on the film along with Molly McGill and Christopher Schmidt. Pomari Tucker took care of the cinematography. Cameron, he also edits the piece. So a lot of hats, right? Most definitely because he stars in it as well as Trevor, right? We have got Macy, played by Catherine Lozon. We've got Vic as Garen Jones. Dale is played by Christopher Schmidt. Barbara, played by Jamie Lynn Marcos. Will is played by Greg Baker Jr. And yeah, Molly McGill is also, she pops up, right? So the gist of the film is suffering from insomnia and a hard day at work, traveling stamp dealer Trevor Convoy stops at a diner for a cup of coffee, but he gets more than he bargained for when a mysterious woman named Macy sits down across from him and pleads for his help. On the run from her abusive boyfriend, Macy is desperate to get out of town. After Trevor reluctantly agrees to give her a ride, this mismatched pair embark on a road trip that gets off to a bumpy start. But just as Trevor and Macy begin to warm up to each other, their journey takes a detour into danger when Trevor realizes that someone might be following them. And Macy isn't who he thought she was. As secrets are revealed, Trevor is confronted with the terrifying reality that their dark pasts are inexorably linked, and the consequences could be deadly. So yeah, that is the film. Now it's all thanks to Shirley at the horror. God, what is it? The horror society. No, it's not the horror collective. Jesus Christ, my mind just went boop. The horror collective and entertainment squad, right? So we get a little bit of a quote from Cameron. He said, genre films are evolving and Cover is part of that evolution, right? It's about what happens when people carry invisible wounds into seemingly simple situations and how quickly things can become dangerous when no one's telling the full truth. So yes, that is the little bit on Cover. A film about stamp collectors. Who'd have known, right? Now I know that the Safadi brothers and Adam Sandler are doing the one on playing cards, but I hadn't heard of a film about stamps, right? So I was very much just surprised by this. Like, we meet Trevor, he's waking up, and just from those opening scenes you understand something is happening with him, right? He's taking a shot, right? He's just not sleeping well, he's tossing and turning, right? So you'd be like, okay, there's more to this guy, right? But he's just going about his day, right? Going about his day, trying to do this thing. And when we see him meet with the other guy at the beginning, you think, oh, is this going to be some sort of heist film, some elaborate scam, some kind of Ocean's Thomas Crown affair type of thing, right? But yeah, it becomes more of this thriller. And when the girl comes up to him, you do know there is something not on the up and up here, right? That is pretty obvious, but you just do not have a clue of what that thing might be, right? What is lurking beneath the surface? And it's played well, you know, like the suspicion, the doubt, all of that is very much there from our cast. So we're just wondering how this all adds up, and we're seeing these little clues, right, of the possible follow and just this. But then there's also these other things. And I think you really have to pay attention when watching this. It reminded me of Stephen Moffat's Doctor Who, right? Because there's one when David Tennant is the Doctor, and they filmed this episode, and you're watching it, and Tennant is doing things and pausing, and it doesn't quite make, like, now the episode makes sense, but you're just like, wait, what happened there? Like, it feels like we're only getting half of this. And then when he took over as showrunner, Moffat did the other part of that episode. And oh my God, the way they did it was incredible, right? Because it all, you're seeing the missing gaps, why there was a pause there, why there was a delay and a slip in, dialogue, and just all of these things become clear. And with cover, there are these moments where, right, there may be a slight pause in a response, or a slip in what someone's saying. And especially there's a point where something is said, and as soon as that thing is said, you're like, right, okay, I see where this is going now. Because, yeah, it's all about the detail. And that's great, right? That is really good. Because a lot of the times they're driving. You know what I mean? They're driving or in a room. So to keep the viewer captivated, to keep them interested, you have to do a lot. Right? You have to do a lot. And, there's these arguments that force them out of the car or to stop, and just all of these things just to keep you gripped, to keep it interesting, so they're just not in a car all the time. But you are with it, right? You do want to know, how is this going to end? Right? What's going to be the outcome of all of this? And when everything is unraveled, you are okay, right? That makes a lot of sense, right? And I don't know if there was any, because we see clippings, right? Because there's an incident that's affecting Trevor, and we understand that this is the thing that is keeping him up and all of this, right? And I don't know if in any of those clippings there are clues, because it's, the newspaper, and it's not necessarily on screen for a long time. So maybe there's something mentioned in those. I don't know. But, right, it all does become clear, and you are very much like, right, okay. But where do we go from here? You know what I mean? What else is going to happen? And it's an interesting conclusion, right? I do think there's a point where you might go, okay, I feel this might happen, but you don't know exactly how it's all going to fall. Some of the fight scenes are a little goofy, right? There's some pauses and things like that, and you're just thinking like, I don't know if someone's pausing at that moment in time, right? I mean, they're taking the shot. If they're not gonna take the shot, it's just like, what are we doing? So maybe, right, some of those do get a little bit, but other than that, we have a lot of it's a lot of fun, right? It's gripping. You are invested in Trevor and Macy and how all of this is going to end up. Like, she's running from an ex. So is she going to, is that ex going to catch up with them? Like, what else is going to happen? We're wondering about Trevor and, this deal that he's got cooking. Right? Is this deal going to all work out? Is there anything crazy on that front? Right? How much money are people prepared to pay for stamps or covers, as it were? Like, I didn't know about the stamps in space. I mean, it makes sense. Didn't know about it, right? And I do wonder if the kind of subplot of this film did actually happen. Is this based on a real thing? Or maybe a, rumor, right? Or a, what do you call that? Like a myth or something like that, right? Maybe. I don't know. Right? It'd be interesting to kind of find out if that is the case. But yeah, it's a film that catches you off guard because, I don't think if anyone told you, yo, I've got a film for you, man. It's about a stamp collector. People are going to be like, yeah, get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna be tied up watching Alien Earth, right? I've got the new Nobody film to watch. I want to watch a film about a stamp collector. What are we doing? But it is that old adage: do not judge a book by its stamp cover, right? Because, yeah, cover has got all of those things that you want, right? A human-driven piece. There is emotion here. There is depth to our characters. You know what I mean? Like, it's very much intriguing. And it's a little thrilling, right? So, boom, this film does it all, right? Our cast, as I say, do a good job, right? It's mainly on the back of Catherine Lozon and Cameron Francis, right? We're with them 90% of the film. So they really have to do this legwork. And it's interesting because, Cameron wrote and directed, right? So he is got so many things to think about as well as giving us a very good performance, right? It does make it easier because he is the editor. So he will, in the moment, you imagine, know we've got, this is the shot that I needed. We've got that shot, right? This, I can do something with this. We can make this work. All of that kind of thing. But yeah, we have good performances, have a good idea. The dialogue works, right? All our elements, the sound design, so we can hear the tires and, anything they go, just all of these kind of things we hear, right? So it is, yeah, it does work. It does work. It is just that the only downside is the goofiness of the fights, right? And the pauses. But that's it, right? And you can give the film, a little leeway on that because you are still gripped. You are still gripped. So, yeah, cover. Very, very intriguing, right? It is, release information is on, it will be on the website, right? It is, I think, I can't remember if it's already played at Panic Fest or if it's just about to play at Panic Fest. But yeah, otherwise, I think the 28th of August is when you will be able to get your little grips on this, I'm calling it a psychological thriller cover, right? When I first saw the film, I was like, is it Cover? Like, how are we pronouncing this? Because I was just assuming it was going to be like this sci-fi film or something like that. But no, Cover, right? That is it. So yeah, 28th of August, mark it down, Cover.